welcome to our second town hall call, where we have our candidates for executive board. And at this time, I just want to go ahead and get started and allow our candidates to introduce themselves. And if you could please limit your introductions to about 2 minutes apiece, because there's lots of folks that have submitted questions they want to ask of you. So we will go ahead and start with our treasurer candidates.
I guess I'll go ahead and start. My name is Mary Dirks, and I'm running for the office of treasurer. And I have been a NAPNAP member for almost 20 years, and really have found it to be sort of my professional home. And really appreciate all the networking and professional colleagues that I've been able to get to know really well throughout the time that I've been a NAPNAP member. I'm also currently chair of the conference planning committee, and have really enjoyed my time on that committee and helping to plan the conference for the last 3 years. Before that, I was chair of the continuing education committee. I've also been president of NAPNAP. Of AFPNP, the Association of Faculties of PNPs, and secretary and treasurer of that organization as well. And I'm currently the assistant dean for graduate practice programs at the University of Iowa, and I oversee and manage 9 programs at the University of Iowa, and I'm in charge of the budget and faculty and staff for those programs as well.
Thank you, Mary.
All right, this is Andrea Klein-Tilford, and I am running for treasurer. I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner, and I've been a NAPNAP member for just over 15 years now. I've had involvement with NAPNAP along the way in several capacities. I was on the board not quite 10 years ago as the professional issues chair before the board was restructured. And I also have been on the conference planning committee. I was one of the founding chairs for the acute care special interest group. And I also am a department editor for the Journal of Pediatric Healthcare. Currently, I am in clinical practice with cardiovascular surgery at Children's Hospital of Michigan, which is in Detroit. And I would say that NAPNAP has just been, while I belong to several different professional organizations, NAPNAP has been the one that I really turn to in terms of meeting my professional needs, in terms of advancing nurse practitioner practice, and I really want to get back involved on the board of NAPNAP.
Thank you so much. Should we just continue? And then next, we'll move on to introductions from our member-at-large candidates, and I'll start with Nancy Kavanaugh.
Hi, this is Nancy Kavanaugh, and I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner in Southern Oregon. I work for a federally qualified health center, school-based health center. I've been a member of NAPNAP since 1979, so a very long time, and active in NAPNAP since the mid-2000s when I was the first president of the very first emerging e-chapter. That's still in its growing phase. And for the past 3 years, I've been the health policy chair. I'm also a member of the Oregon chapter since moving to Oregon a few years ago, and but I've continued my e-chapter membership because I'm distantly away from where all the meetings happen in the northern part of the state. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Nancy. We'll move on to Ann.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ann Derwin. I'm in North Carolina. I'm the primary care of the PNP primary care program lead faculty here at Duke University. And I have also been part of NAPNAP for about 20 years. NAPNAP is really my home organization, even though I'm a member of other organizations. And I just want to really tell everyone that's on this call what an honor it is to be in the slate of candidates. Everyone that on this particular slate I've known or worked with and admire greatly and appreciate the tremendous effort that you have contributed throughout your career to advancing our organization and the work of PNPs. My role has also involved leadership at our chapter here in North Carolina. I'm currently the advocacy chair of our chapter and also the co-chair of the adolescent SIG. I've also served as the chair of the school-based health SIG and been engaged in many of the other SIGs over the years. I did the advocacy training with Laura in the past, which has really prompted me to do much more advocacy work in our state and at the federal level as well. And I just recently started a pediatric mental health program here at Duke because of the emerging crisis in our country. I really want to try to arm our students and my peers with more of the knowledge on behavioral mental health components to try to address some of the needs we have in the country. So thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Anne. And our final member-at-large candidate on the call this evening is Gail Horner. Go ahead, Gail.
Hi, my name's Gail Horner. I am a clinician at Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio, in our Child Advocacy Center. I have been a member of NAPNAP for, I guess it's been like 25 years now. I've worked in child abuse my whole career as a pediatric nurse practitioner. I am very engaged in NAPNAP, have found it a wonderful vehicle to collaborate with other like-minded nurse practitioners. I'm engaged at the state level. I've been a member of our board for a number of years. I served as treasurer, and now I'm the outgoing president of the Ohio chapter. I am co-chair of our child maltreatment SIG. I have contributed several articles to the Journal of Pediatric Healthcare, and I served as a member of the editorial board of the Journal of Pediatric Healthcare, and now I'm currently one of the co-editors of the specialty, I'm saying this wrong, but the specialty department, specialty case studies for the Journal of Pediatric Healthcare. So, I just love NAPNAP. It's a wonderful organization. It provides nurse practitioners with a wonderful opportunity to collaborate with other professionals working in the same area and other areas that are related to topics that they're interested in. That's it.
This is Marguerite DeMarco, better known as Peg DeMarco. I am from Ohio also. I have been an active member of NAPNAP for over 20 years. I've served on the board as the nominations committee, and I've been the oral health expert. I've also served on the board of AFPNP, Association of Faculties for Pediatric Nurse Practitioners. I've been active in the Ohio chapter and been served on the board as a professional education chair, membership chair, and treasurer. Like everyone else, NAPNAP's my favorite conference and favorite place to go. I really enjoy the mentoring, especially networking with people. I've led 2 PNP programs, one at the University of Akron and presently at Case. I also practice at Medina County Health Department, and I'm very excited to run for office.
Thank you very much, Marguerite. And last but not least, Sharon Karp.
Okay, let's make sure I got my mute off here. I'm Sharon Karp, and I've been involved with NAPNAP not quite 20 years. and I do a little bit of everything. I'm a practicing nurse practitioner at the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, where I specialize. I do some primary care, and then I'm also the specialist in pediatric weight management. And so I'm also the co-chair of the Childhood Obesity SIG, and that's been my involvement with leadership with NAPNAP. And so in terms of NAPNAP, I've been a member for NAPNAP, and I've been involved with the Music City chapter here in Nashville. I forgot to tell you guys I'm from Tennessee. So I've been active with that, but I'm excited to maybe get involved with the nominations committee to help other chapters reorganize and get revitalized, because we suffer from that down here and getting active and things like that. I teach at Vanderbilt. I also do research, and I practice, so I do a little bit of everything. So I come at it from all different directions.
All right, Sharon, thank you very much. And I would, just an observation, after moderating our first town hall call and then this one, I haven't added it up exactly, but I think we have somewhere between 2 and 3 centuries of professional experience represented among NAPNAP experience represented among our executive board candidates. So you all are to be commended for your leadership and service and your willingness to continue to serve and put yourself out for an executive board position. When we have, like I said, when we have a great situation for NAPNAP, and we have so many wonderfully qualified candidates, but difficult choices to make. So thank you all very, very much for being here and being involved and continuing to want to be involved. So I'm going to ask some questions, and most of you all have had a chance to review some of these questions ahead of time. And I'm going to go through office by office. And one common question for everyone will be, why did you decide to run for office at this time, especially considering all of your wealth of prior experience? So, I'm gonna let our nominations committee members handle that one first. So I'll start with Marguerite.
Peg DeMarco, and I decided to run for office. I like to be involved with National NAPNAP. I find it a very rewarding organization, and I want to contribute. And I'm very interested in maybe starting a mentoring program.
Thank you, Marguerite. And Sharon?
Very similar to Peg's answer in terms of I was encouraged by some colleagues who I would consider mentors to myself, who have been actively involved in NAPNAP, to start getting more involved at a national level. And I've thoroughly enjoyed being involved at a national level with NAPNAP, and I have found that the more involved that I get, the more things that I want to do, not only in my own clinic, but also with my students. And so to me, I think just being involved at the national level just benefits not only myself, but my students, but also the NAPNAP.
Thanks, Sharon. And let me just explain one thing. I did this for the candidates last week as well. Some of you all have nicknames, but I've been using the names as they will appear on the ballot, your formal names, okay, just so we're able to tie the ballot name with the candidates. So, like Peg, I just want to let you know I wasn't ignoring that you go by a nickname.
Okay. So, no problem.
And and member at large candidates, Nancy.
Well, I'm just getting off at the end of my time as health policy chair, passing the baton to Sarah Weil, who is going to be more than capable to take over. Working with the health policy team and the national office has been amazing and really given me a greater appreciation for what happens behind the scenes and the really important work that NAPNAP does on behalf of pediatric focus APRNs and, of course, children's health advocacy. So I've learned so much about being a health policy advocate, And I really would like to continue to use my skills and that relationships that have been established, not only as a health policy expert, but really to help strengthen the amazing APRNs in our membership. It just seems like it's a shame to take all that expertise that's been developed and let it kind of sit by. So that's why I'm throwing my name in the hat at this time. And NAPNAP is my professional home. I love NAPNAP, and I'm super excited that I may be able to continue working with the board.
Thank you, Nancy. Ann?
I want to be right alongside Nancy. I totally agree with what she said. I'm coming to the end of my term as leadership in the SIGs, and I've been a SIG chair for the past 6 years, and I've been really engaged in the advocacy work both here in North Carolina and then nationally in our organization as well as others. And I just feel like our organization is really the premier organization to represent children and their families, and that's where I want to invest more of my time. I love the opportunity and have just really been honored to be encouraged and endorsed by others, and I certainly look forward to the opportunity to learn from my peers and experts that I would sit with.
Thank you, Ann. Gail?
To be completely honest, 6 years ago, I think it was 6 years ago, I ran for member at large, and I didn't win. And I said to myself, "Oh gosh, never do that again." But then I always had it in the back of my mind that I was kind of disappointed that I didn't win. And then I received a phone call from a member of the nominations committee saying that someone had suggested me throw my name into the hat to run, and I thought, why not? Just give it a shot. And because I love NAPNAP, I feel that it is my professional home, and I am involved in so many efforts within NAPNAP, the Human Trafficking Task Force. I just thought I just wanted to give it another shot.
Thank you, Gail. And I will let you know as well that I also earlier in my career was an unsuccessful candidate for nominations committee and thought, well, I won't do that again. And then decided to answer the call with a little bit of arm twisting when the president-elect opportunity came up, and I am so glad because the last 3 years have been some of the most rewarding 3 years of my professional career and my association with NAP. So, we all answer the call at different times.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And then I thought, well, who in the world would even remember that I ran except for me? And so it was like, oh, Gail, get over yourself.
Yeah, there have been many executive board members elected that there would be more than one rodeo. And listen, we have such a qualified slate of candidates this year. I hope none of these ladies think they're getting away from us because we're going to find some way to utilize your time and your talents and abilities one way or the other. I can't move on to that same candidate for our treasurer candidates. Mary, you want to take it next?
Yes. Well, I am in my third year in my term as conference planning chair, and I was really a little bit disappointed in the fact that I, wasn't going to be, really involved in the NAPNAP leadership. And, I guess I'm always trying to find ways, I think as we all are, with finding ways that we can maybe make an impact on children and their families and care. And as an educator and a practitioner as well, I continue to practice and see patients. It just occurred to me that, I had to maybe try to do something else. And I'm actually calling from London right now. As a matter of fact, I'm coming back tomorrow. But yesterday I had the privilege of going to the Florence Nightingale Museum. I'm not sure if any of the others on the call have been able to do that, but it was really kind of a powerful thing to go there and see many of the artifacts and hear many of the stories of her life. And it occurred to me, that this is again a calling for myself, and it's a way to create a larger impact for those that are coming along with me or behind me in our profession, and to make a more of an impact on the patients that we care for.
Thank you. Andrea?
All right. It's a really exciting time to be a nurse practitioner, and I think I would have said that 10 years ago, but I think every year it gets more exciting, and NAPNAP really does incredible things for children and their families as well as our profession. And ever since I was on the board last time, I just knew I wanted to get involved again at some point. And when I was on the board last time, I developed wonderful friendships with individuals that I'm still close with, and learned so much and got to know the staff at the national office, and just knew I wanted to do it again at some point in the future. So several years went by, and my kids are a little bit older. I finally finished my PhD, and I'm doing clinical practice, and I've been looking for something else to do to fit some professional development into my time as well.
Thank you so much. And the next questions will be for our treasurer candidates. And that would be, what unique skills do you bring to the table relative to the position you're running for? And how do you see them fitting with NAPNAP's mission?
This is Mary Dirks. I guess I'll go first. I guess the skills that I believe I bring are leadership in the way that I've been a conference planning chair for NAPNAP, as well as president and secretary and treasurer for AFPNP, as well as president for my state chapter of NAPNAP. Also, I feel like I have a pretty good attention to detail. I'm also an editor for the Burns PNP Primary Care textbook. Accountability, try to be very forward thinking. I think with the conference for the last 3 years, we've actually broken records for attendance for each of the last 3 years, and I think this year will be even record attendance from last year, because we're always trying to look for new ways to be able to meet the needs of our participants. And I also think maybe I'm a good problem solver, and I think an effective communicator and collaborator with others, which I think is also really important as a leader.
Great. Thank you so much, Mary. Andrea?
Yeah, sure. I'm duly trained both in primary and acute care, and have had several different kinds of practice experiences in my career, in clinical practice and academia. And I think that have helped me to understand some of the a wide range of needs and issues that nurse practitioners and students and new graduates encounter in their career. I've had the opportunity to hold several treasurer positions, including the Michigan chapter of NAPNAP, the Association of Faculty of Pediatric Nurse Practitioners, and I'm currently the treasurer for the NAPNAP Foundation Board. And while certainly treasurer of NAPNAP is on a much different scale from these other experiences I've had, I hope that I'll be able to apply some of the skills that I've acquired from those positions to the NAPNAP board.
Thank you very much. And additional question for our treasurer candidates. What's one area where you believe NAPNAP can improve? And if elected, what could you do in your role to help the organization make that improvement?
This is Mary Dirks
I'll let Mary go ahead and get started on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess I'm always thinking that, an organization can gain more members. I feel like, we don't have full 100% of the PNPs that are out there in our membership, and as well as other pediatric advanced practice providers or pediatric providers. So I would like to see an incentive program for preceptors or for first year, not only students but first year providers, PNPs or other providers at a reduced rate, because I really feel like, as many of us have touched on, that NAPNAP is really a supportive organization that feels very comfortable once you're in it as a member, and so I think just getting people involved and having that support is in that first year or two is really going to solidify and want to keep them as feel like they want to stay as members.
Thank you very much. And Andrea?
Sure. I really think that NAPNAP has excelled over the recent years, really meeting the needs of PMPs in all different practice areas. And I think that members really get the most from their organizations when they really feel engaged with that organization. And so what I would like is to have the opportunity to brainstorm on ways to get members more engaged, because I feel like when members really feel the gain that they're getting from their organization, they're networking, they're making a difference, that's when they really feel that they've made a connection with that organization. And so there may be some different ways to do that. But one idea that I was thinking is even getting NAPNAP board members more out to some of the chapter meetings or chapter conferences to engage and network with those individuals, to encourage them to become more, provide a presentation, and also encourage them to become more involved at the national level as well.
Thanks so much. And one final question for our treasurer candidates is, what do you think is one of NAPNAP's greatest strengths?
This is Mary Dirks. I think NAPNAP is really strong at making their members feel welcome and a part of something bigger that you want to participate in and continue to network and give for service. So I think NAPNAP does a really good job of engaging members and giving them what they need as far as advocacy and education, and that's a really strong part of the organization.
Andrea?
Sure. I think that NAPNAP has several strengths. Among those are advocacy for children, leadership for children, and really building on the momentum that has, started many years ago. And I think one of the other strengths is forming relationships with other professional organizations in order to collaborate with those organizations, and as well as the preeminent educational offerings that NAPNAP offers their members and non-members.
All right. Thank you very much, ladies. Appreciate all of your input and your thoughtful answers. And then a few questions for our member-at-large candidates. And again, we'll go in alphabetical order, starting with Nancy. Question, how do you handle conflict?
Sorry, I'm recovering from a cold. I would say very carefully. And some days are better than others. I think it's really important to be respectful, especially when you disagree, and to find ways to encourage dialogue and discussion. And perhaps one of the things I've learned more acutely with NAPNAP is that we have a very diverse membership, and sometimes we might want to go into an area of politics in health policy. It seems like all politics is controversial these days, but a lot of times in pediatric healthcare, a lot of what we do is pretty straightforward and it's hard to disagree with. But because of the diversity of our membership and the climate that we live in today, I think it's really important that we take a deep breath and consider the diversity of our membership as well as the issues that we're focusing on, so that we can be careful, considerate, sensitive, and yet at the same time be strong, powerful advocates for the children and families that we serve, as well as our professional organization.
Thanks, Nancy. And the same question to Ann.
Awesome. Thank you. So I love to handle conflict the same way I handle a difficult student or a difficult patient. I'm an adolescent provider, so there's always challenges in getting to the truth of why they're coming to visit me or what's going on with them and within their social context. So I always try to listen very carefully and pay attention. I listen with my heart as well as with my ears in terms of what's going on. And I really try to meet folks in the middle. So I think within our organization, I would try to find the common ground if there is conflict, and that we all agree on the mission of our organization and what our roles are in providing excellent care for children and their families. And we are super diverse in terms of everyone doing amazing work in the specialty areas as well as primary care and acute care settings, but we can all agree on what our mission is and what our goal is. So I usually start there and then try to understand differences and work those out from all angles. It's just like patient care is the easiest manner.
Thank you, Ann. And same question to Gail.
Well, I think I would listen before I speak, listen so that I could understand what the conflict was and what the differing opinions were, and try to understand really kind of where my role would fit in the conflict. So I just think it's important to listen before you speak to understand exactly what the conflict is, and then to look for common ground between the two sides.
Thank you, Gail. And also for our member-at-large candidates, if elected, what specific issues are you hoping to represent or would you like addressed at the board level? And again, back to Nancy.
Hi. So I think engagement is membership plus action. And so every touch that a member has with the NAPNAP website, I think should encourage engagement and not be a passive movement. So I would hope that we could kind of nurture the habit of checking into the website automatically. I know that we've been very disappointed at times with the responses to calls to action or in our elections as well, the number of people that vote. And I think one way to counter that would be to really get engagement on our website and having it be a two-way thing. And how we would do that, I don't know, maybe, encouraging polling, question of the week, maybe even an incentive that would help motivate members to change. So somehow to have an incentive for the number of clicks on the website and the number of participations. I think that would get a little bit more membership perhaps involved. But I really think it's finding a way for the members to become more action oriented. And kind of in that same line, I think is thinking about the way we like the Advocacy Scholars Program, which is something that NAPNAP does so well. And that's really been a stepping stone for leadership in many of the organization. And so, anything that encourages leadership building, if NAPNAP can take that model of the Advocacy Scholar Program and maybe find other ways to do that, other short-term intensive kind of training opportunities that build leadership also, I think, kind of gets people feeling committed and more willing to kind of get involved and give back to the organization, because everyone's so busy in their careers and their families and in their communities. I think we need to give people a really important reason to kind of get involved in their national organization as well as at the chapter level.
Thanks, Nancy. Ann?
Nancy, I love your idea. That's totally my mission, and why I want to be engaged in this is just to really bring us together as an organization. The more folks I meet, the more members I meet, either through advocacy or through the SIGs, everyone's doing amazing, incredible work, and we sometimes feel like we're the only ones doing it. We're in a silo, and I would really, really love to strengthen our network and strengthen our collaboration together and our encouragement to one another. Our organization has grown tremendously, but our SIGs have not. They have languished, and I want to take a look at that and understand what we can do to promote more partnership and more teamwork within the individual SIGs, as well as crossing over, partnering and collaborating with SIGs that have similar interests. And my goal is really to also strengthen our voice with other professional organizations. We have folks that are professional organizations that are doing work that is related to us. So the school-based health nursing organization, the school nurses organization, certainly folks who are doing behavioral mental health work, and AANP, which could have really benefit from partnership from the pediatric experts within our organization. And I would really love for us to have a presence at those organizations and bring our expert voice forward.
Thanks so much, Ann. And Gail?
One example that I think is a very exciting initiative that NAPNAP is currently engaged in is the Human Trafficking Initiative. I know that members of the Child Maltreatment SIG are very engaged. Human trafficking is something that certainly is very closely related to child maltreatment, but it really crosses every pediatric nurse practitioner has the potential to interact with a victim or a potential victim of human trafficking. So I think this initiative that we have going is so exciting and so empowering for pediatric nurse practitioners. NAPNAP providing the education for pediatric nurse practitioners to learn more about human trafficking, to become trainers, to go out into their community and educate other pediatric healthcare providers about the topic of human trafficking. That I just find this so exciting. And then certainly I think at the heart of NAPNAP are our special interest groups and our state chapters. So I would like to empower the SIGs and the state chapters to feel like they have a voice, more of a voice in NAPNAP. Not that they don't now, but I think it's important for them to feel empowered, because our SIGs and our chapters do allow pediatric nurse practitioners to have such a voice and collaborate with one another.
Thank you all, ladies. And I'm going to move on to our nominations committee candidates. And Marguerite or Peg, question for you is, what are the qualities of a good leader and how do you exemplify them?
Well, I believe a good leader can delegate. I believe a good team leader looks at their team and sees who, their team members and who can do what good and try to accent their positives and get them involved in what they want to do and what they think they're good at. And how do I exemplify that? I think with my students, with my children, with my patients, I try to look at more of their positives and really stress that. I would say that, delegation is very important, not to think that the leader has to do everything, but let their members lead in areas that they feel good about.
Thank you so much. Go ahead. Do you have more to add? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's it. Thanks.
All right, Sharon?
Well, I agree that in terms of when I think of a good leader, the first thing I think about is delegation. And maybe in terms of I guess when you go back to your question, the first thing you asked were, what are the qualities of a good leader? And so I think of delegation, always good communication with leadership, and then, but that person has to be willing to make decisions and be accountable for those decisions, even if you're willing to delegate. That kind of the Harry Truman model of the buck stops here. But you have to be supportive of those that you're working with, and so it's that you have to be willing to work with them. So, and then what makes me a good leader is I consider myself a good communicator, but I'm also an optimistic, supportive, positive person. So I feel like that when it comes down to it and it's time to make the decision and be accountable for it, that I'm good with working with the people that I work with and lead and support, so that I will be accountable for the decisions that we all had to make.
Thank you very much. And in thinking about your role as in the nominations committee, what would be one idea you would have to engage more NAPNAP members and have them consider executive board leadership?
Well, and I'm excited to listen to all the other candidates this evening talking about engaging the chapters and the state chapters and the SIGs, because I think that as part of, in the role of the nomination committee, I really think that to recruit candidates for leadership positions, I'd like to see us take advantage of whether it's our academic colleagues or it's from the SIGs, that we're looking and we're trying to recruit and catching, even if it's some of our, the diverse professional networks, whether it's our newer members, and starting to recruit and getting them involved early in leadership, promoting the benefits of leadership, and kind of growing our new leaders earlier and sooner, so that maybe we can, if we're empowering people to get involved sooner in NAPNAP, that maybe we can keep them engaged longer and we're not constantly asking ourselves, why are we losing people? Why are we constantly having to work on re-engagement?
All right, thank you. And thank you, Sharon. The same questions to you, Peg.
Well, I would like to be involved in a formal mentoring program. I think one of the big reasons I go to NAPNAP is networking. And I think that if we can, for instance, I was in, I think it was Denver, and a young person was going out to dinner, and I said, aren't you going to the welcoming ceremony, that they have free drinks and they have free food, and, she didn't know anything about that. And so, if you can just have somebody kind of coaching some new members along, and so they can see the value that we see after so many years, I think that's important. And, at the state level, and Gail's on the state with me, we have a pretty active organization at the state. I heard somebody from Tennessee, they had a little bit more trouble with that. We have conferences. We really try to get our members involved. And, typically a lot of the same people do a lot of the work, but we try to get everybody involved. I think it starts at the student level. I really encourage students to join, and so those are my ideas.
Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm.
And at this time, I want to ask that we have any questions, and these questions could be directed to individual candidates, if you like, from any of our members that are participating in the call tonight. So if you have any questions, just take yourself off mute and introduce yourself, identify the candidate or candidates you'd like to ask the question, and the floor is open.
Hi, Laura. This is Jessica Peck, and hello, everyone. It's so nice to hear all of your voices tonight, and thank you for taking the time to participate in this town hall meeting. My question is about NAPNAP's mission statement. Of course, our mission is to empower pediatric nurse practitioners, pediatric-focused APRNs, and their interprofessional partners to enhance child and family health through leadership, advocacy, professional practice, education, and research. So I would like to ask to any of the members on the call, what about NAPNAP's mission statement is most meaningful to you, or can you share how you contributed to helping fulfill NAPNAP's mission?
All right. Does anybody want to volunteer to answer that question?
This is Nancy Kavanaugh. Go ahead, Mary.
I'm sorry. This is Mary Dirk. Sorry. I guess I would state that I have been pretty actively involved in the education component of the mission for the last 6 years as continuing education and then conference planning chair with the conferences and accrediting state chapters for their conference programs in their state chapters. But, I really would like to, this wasn't a question that was asked of me a little bit earlier, and I hope I can just take a minute to say that I would like to increase more advocacy as far as interprofessional amongst other professions and advanced practice so that we can work together a little bit better and not, adversarial, not, other professions sort of adversarial sort of efforts towards us, and so that would be sort of a goal of mine with NAPNAP.
Okay, and then I'll take Nancy next.
Thanks. So as health policy chair, I think it's been easy to meet the mission statement because we do a lot of work not only looking at child and family health through leadership, but especially through looking at the health policies that are happening on the federal level and spending a lot of times behind the scenes endorsing letters, writing letters, meeting with legislators, calling legislators, getting calls to actions happening, in inspiring members through Team Peds with what's happening, writing the Inside the Beltway and letting people know what's happening. So I think the Health Policy Committee in general does a fantastic job of reaching out to membership and empowering all pediatric nurse practitioners to become more involved as a health advocate for their at the state and the federal level for pediatric and adolescent and family health care issues. Thanks.
Thanks, Nancy. Any of our other candidates wish to answer that question?
I will. This is Ann.
Do you want to go?
Go ahead, Gail. You can.
Are you sure?
Go ahead, Gail.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This is kind of baby steps, but in the child maltreatment SIG, I have kind of led. We've done 4 collaborative projects together, like research projects where we've educated healthcare providers about corporal punishment. We looked at pediatric nurse practitioner behaviors related to child maltreatment screening and anticipatory guidance. We have looked at practice parameters for child maltreatment, pediatric nurse practitioners. So I think through that collaboration, we, members of the child maltreatment SIG, have kind of helps each other grow in our professional practice and our professional academic endeavors. We're also in the midst of refining a white paper related to NAPNAP's position on corporal punishment. So I have found those projects very personally fulfilling, and I really feel like other members of the Child Maltreatment SIG have felt the same. So in the SIG area, I feel like we have been able to work together and stimulate one another's efforts. And also at the state level in Ohio, we have as Peg was saying, we have a very active chapter, and members are encouraged, and we offer scholarships that encourage members to contribute to advocacy and political advocacy, and then also patient advocacy in the state. So I certainly think in that way, in my role in the SIG and the state chapters, I have kind of fulfilled or encouraged the mission statement of NAPNAP.
Thanks, Gail. Next.
I totally agree with that. This is Ann Derwin, and Gail, I totally endorse what you have just said, and you have a wonderful article in the Journal of Pediatric Healthcare as well, which is just a huge asset to our profession and can be shared widely with other members of the healthcare workforce that are working alongside of us. Jessica, I really love your question, because I think it's just an important one for all of us to be thinking about, is how we're going to advance the mission of our organization in the future and really inspire the next generation of leaders. It's so evident from this call that we've all been around. We've all been here for a couple decades doing great work, and I think every single person on this call has been living the mission statement of NAPNAP for many years. And so I would love to use our collective leadership to bring forward the next generation that will take our place, 10 years from now. And so at least I hope to retire sometime. And I really feel strongly that I join my colleagues on this call in the work that we've done. I've certainly served as an advocate and will continue to do so. I certainly promote research and disseminate my findings commonly, and support the education of nurse practitioners as well as family nurse practitioners who are passionate about caring for kids, which I think is really important as we establish a stronger relationship with some of the other professional organizations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I agree with Mary. This is Peg DeMarco. The interprofessional partners are very important. I've been involved with the oral health. I've been on the American Dental Association, the American Association of Pediatrics, pediatricians, working on oral health problems. So I think that, we have that opportunity. We see it in our practice. We see it in our education and our research. And, I've done all three also, and I don't think I'm anybody special here. I think all of us are passionate about something in our practice, and we've went to other health professionals. We've, written articles, taught our students, and I think that, that's the mission is very important, and I think many PNPs live that mission.
Thank you very much, Peg. Anybody else? All right.
Andrea. Oh,
go ahead, Andrea.
All right. I think everyone's done a really nice job capturing so many pieces of the mission statement that we impact every day, and a couple comments about clinical practice and taking students and that being such an important role, and not only teaching the clinical piece and how to examine and evaluate patients and what we'll do for them, but also teaching them about role and scope of practice and what things to think about once they get settled into their career and how they can take things to the next level. And I think that's another way we empower nurse practitioners, students, or young nurse practitioners, and in terms of being involved in pieces of formal education, and then this more informal education at the bedside, and then like many others on the call, I've had the opportunity to be involved in several research studies, interprofessional research studies that are multi-center research studies to help identify strategies to improve patient outcomes.
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrea. Have I missed anybody with that last question?
Well, this is Sharon, and I could just keep adding to it, but I'll let you go on to get another question.
Well, this will be, we're just about out of time, so if you'd like to chime in, go ahead.
No, well, because very similar response to everyone else, so if there's another question, we'll let that get in.
No, and then this will be our last question because we're almost out of time for our call. So if you'd like to respond, go ahead. You don't need to if you don't wish to.
I'll let another question get in.
Okay.
Hi, Lauren. This is Danny Sebbins. I don't have a question. I just wanted to say I've appreciated everybody's answers today, and I really have enjoyed listening to everybody, and I look forward to seeing everybody in Chicago.
Great.
Thank you.
And this is Laura. I'm going to take a point of personal privilege as moderator. Both last week and this week, we have had the absolute pleasure to hear from outstanding NAPNAP leaders. And the state of our organization is good. And on these calls, you have heard some of the strong points of NAPNAP's culture. All our candidates have been positive, thoughtful, collegial. We can have diversity of opinion without having conflict. And as we choose our leaders, we're going to be able to sustain and continue to empower future leaders to lead our organization in the same positive, collegial manner. It has been a privilege of mine to serve on the executive board for the last number of years, and it is going to be a privilege to work with all of our successful candidates. And I want just to say a word that we have wonderful choices, and there will be no winners or losers in this election. There will only be leaders who will have been chosen to serve for this one period of time. And I just want to thank all of our candidates. And since we have had 2 town hall calls, we had too big a group in order to have all of our candidates on one call. So I just want to recap. You heard from President-elect candidates last week, Raji Kopalu and Jessica Peck. You heard from last week, Treasurer candidate Carol Saverin, and this week, Treasurer candidates Mary Dirks and Andrea Klein-Tilford. Last week, you heard from member-at-large candidates Colleen Dietro, Lacey Eden, Taria Giannetta, and Regina Spratling. Today, you heard from member-at-large candidates Nancy Kavanaugh, Ann Derwin, and Gail Horner. And last week, you heard from Nominations Committee candidate Jennifer Joyner. And this week, Nominations Committee candidates Marguerite Peg DeMarco and Sharon Karp. So I want to wish everyone the best of luck in the current election and know that all of our candidates' service, leadership, and commitment is appreciated. This call has been recorded, as has last week's call. So our members will be getting a link to both the calls with an encouragement to listen to them. So even if folks couldn't join us tonight, they still have an opportunity to listen to the recordings of both these calls and hear from all of our candidates. And I'm just a reminder that for those who are attending our national conference, you'll have an additional opportunity to meet the candidates in person at the candidate meet and greet that will be held from 1:15 to 2:15 on Tuesday, March 20th at the NAPNAP Pavilion in the exhibit hall. And members will receive an email from Election America with the voting link and individual voting credentials on March 1st, so that's later this week. Each member can vote once between March 1st and March 30th, and the names of those elected will be announced in early April. Candidate details can also be found on the NAPNAP website at www.napnap.org/candidates. So again, thank you so much for all who've participated in our candidate town hall meetings. And at this time, I'll wish everyone a very good night and end of the recording. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
Thank you.
See everybody in Chicago.